Hey guys, I had my interview with Brad and Tommy over at Homestead Nation, and they had asked me to talk about homeschooling. I have a 20-year-old daughter and two sons who are 14 and 15, and I've homeschooled them all the way through. They've never been in a school system, public or private, of any kind. So this video is going to be on tips if you've decided to homeschool. There are some things that I wish I would have known before I started homeschooling, and I just want to take the time to share those with you. This is going to be a heavily edited video simply because I'm just going to sit here and ramble. When I decided to homeschool, I wasn't sure how long I wanted to homeschool for. So I decided to just take it 1 year at a time. And after each year, I evaluate everything. I evaluate curricula choices, what we used for that year. Do I want to continue in a certain program, or do I want to completely switch gears? I've also evaluated each child at the end of each year. Not all families homeschool all their kids. Some families choose to put one kid in public, another kid in private, homeschool a third, whatever works for your family. You also want to evaluate hearts and attitudes. You want to evaluate your own heart towards your children, toward your chosen lifestyle with homeschooling. Think about how that's going and how it's affecting the relationships in the family. I really like assessing that at the end of every year. It just helps me to focus, helps me prioritize, and being organized is very important in homeschooling for me. I would also suggest that you check out HSLDA's website. It's hslda.org, Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They have a quick navigation section on the right hand, or in the right hand column on their homepage. And all you have to do is scroll down and look at all the topics. They have how-to sections. They have information on each state, state laws, state homeschool support organizations that you can connect with, and then get into local connections. There's even an international section in there. Then from there you can contact your local support group and find out if there are any co-ops available to you, or if there are homeschool bookstores where you can go and get a hands-on look at curricula. And make sure you ask your locals about homeschool book fairs. Here's another big tip. If you have 10 kids all under the age of 5, bless your heart, sweetie, you're busy. I would suggest, if you have a large family, not to listen to women or seminars that are given by women who have only 1 or 2 kids. If you think about it, they can just pour themselves into homeschooling that one child or those 2 children, and they can devote a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort into what they do in their homeschool. Whereas you have greater demands coming at you from all directions, and you can't spend as much time doing what they do. And if you listen to them and what they do in their homeschool and you compare yourself, you're going to guilt. You're going to feel the weight of not measuring up, which isn't true. You just have a different circumstance, a different homeschool, a different family altogether. So you really don't need the guilt of comparing yourself, your limitations, with hers. Listen to people who have at least as many kids as you have and more. You'll get great tips. The next tip would be to gather resources. You can spend on any given subject from $0 to $1,000 per child per semester, depending on your choices for curricula. Understand what's available to you at and through your local library. Most libraries have the interlibrary loan system, ILL. If you're at a small library out in the country, it's wonderful. You can go in and talk to any one of the librarians. They should know how to use the program. They'll probably have you fill out a form when you want a book. It's for books that you can't get at your library because your library is small. Say you live out in the country and you have a very small library and you want a book that your library just doesn't have. What you can do is go in and fill out the form for the book, submit it, and they'll get on it. They'll start researching it, finding out which big city library has your book, and then the book will be mailed to you. There's a section on there, I believe, where you have to fill out how much you're willing to pay for shipping, because sometimes they mail the book, sometimes they have drivers that bring out the book. It just depends on your situation, how rural you are and how small your library is, where you're located, where the book is coming from. So you might have to shell out, up to $3 for a book. Gathering resources can be the overwhelming part of homeschooling. But gather resources such as websites, webinars, YouTube videos, catalogs. Rainbow Resource is one of my favorite catalogs. They have, probably now well over 1,000 pages. And they list almost every single homeschooling curricula you can come across. And not only do they list them, they give little short reviews on how to use them, how they went for people that they know used them. It's been a great resource over the years. So if you can't get a hands-on look at curricula, go to the catalogs. Also, gather information on different methods of teaching. There's everything from classical homeschooling, which is a rigorous homeschool method, to unschooling. Gather people resources. Find out who in your area could mentor you. Find out what people in your area do for extracurricular activities and sports. My kids participate in swim team every summer. We've done ncfca.org speech and debate. That's taught great skills. Being homeschoolers, you don't tend to stand up and give a lecture while your kids take notes. So it's been very good for them to participate in speech and debate, to learn how to take notes, learn how to listen while they're taking notes, learn how to quickly refute an argument, learn how to politely argue. They've learned so many skills that will help them later on in life, in college. In fact, my daughter, when she was at community college at the ripe old age of 16, she took such great notes that other students in her class would ask her for her notes. I told her to sell them, but she didn't do that. She just gave it to them. I've also participated in Model UN, whereas speech and debate teaches winning skills and argumentation. Model UN teaches more diplomacy, working together, coming to an agreement. So they're very different communication skills. And we had the benefit of teen court in our area. The kids participated in that for both service and leadership. As you're gathering resources, find out if there are any co-ops in your area. Some people love co-ops, some people don't love co-ops. I personally don't love them. My kids loved them, but our co-op was more a co-op of what I considered kind of fluff classes. Photography, art, music, drama. Those classes have their place, but I just didn't want my kids having homework, a week's worth of homework in classes that really didn't take a load off of me, like math and science and, classes like that. And then in this co-op, I had to prepare to teach every week. And my preparation meant time away from my own family. It was at the expense of my own family, so I didn't enjoy the co-op. Co-op was great though. The kids loved it. They got up early for it. They looked forward to it. At the time they were, I'm going to say first grade through junior high, somewhere in there. It was sweet. You'd see kids passing each other in the hall. Siblings would hug. The kids were allowed to hug the teachers were allowed to hug back, something you don't see in public schools. Okay, now here's a tip, kind of a warning. You're going to come across snobs. There are homeschooling snobs, people that believe everyone should be homeschooling or it's a sin if you're not. There are method snobs. I have come across people who believe that this way of teaching, this method of teaching is the superior way. Everything else is inferior. Then there are curriculum snobs who are so tied into one curriculum that, again, they believe that's the best curriculum that, far exceeds any other kind. Don't worry about them. My kids, I like the classical method, and I probably do mostly classical Charlotte Mason, but then there are subjects that I don't do well classically in. And again, as much as I love classical and Charlotte Mason, my kids don't know Latin and Greek, and they're okay. Sometimes as we gather information, we're also watching women and how a certain curriculum works for their family. And we like what we see, we want what we see, and we purchase that curriculum and we think it's going to work for our family. And when it doesn't, we start that comparison again. Don't worry if a curriculum works for your best friend or your homeschooling mentor and it doesn't work for you. It's okay to let that curriculum go. Don't guilt over what does not work for you and your family. Everyone's homeschool is different. Gather all the information that you can, but pray, pray, pray. The Lord knows your family better than even you and your husband do. And then your husband's role in all of this as well is, as you're gathering, put it all together, present it to your husband, and counsel with him. Okay, something that greatly helped our family when the kids were young was to build in blow-off days. Some people may need a blow-off day weekly, some may need it monthly, some may need it, when you accomplish a goal. Like if you're in a workbook series and you have to go through 5 or 6 workbooks in a semester, maybe build in a blow-off day after you complete every workbook. Just plan something fun like a camping trip, a day shopping, especially if you have girls, going out for ice cream, nature hike, going to the lake or the beach. Be okay if life just happens. Sometimes a friend could get sick and maybe you could just gather your kids together, cook a dinner, and take it to your friend. Let that be a ministry opportunity. You're still teaching your kids. You're teaching your kids how to respond to others when they're down. Remember that you will have bad days, even weeks or months, possibly semesters of low productivity. I remember when I was teaching my daughter how to read. She was 4, maybe 5 at the time. And we were going through a book called How to Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. 100 easy lessons. During that time, that whole semester, it was a spring semester, my father was dying of cancer. And we lived 30, 45 minutes away from my parents. And 3 times a week, I would pack up my daughter and my son, who was a baby at the time. My 3rd son wasn't born yet. And we would drive over to mom and dad's, and there were needs to be met. So those 3 days a week, we didn't do school. The other 2, when we were home, I wasn't always doing school. Sometimes I was grieving. Sometimes I was busy, with a baby and a small child. You've got lots of laundry and you've got, meals to cook and all that. And we just didn't get around to those 100 easy lessons. Well, it ended up taking us 2 years to get through those 100 easy lessons. But, it was okay. And I was amazed at how long we could go in between those lessons and she would still retain all that information. So, life is going to happen, disappointments are going to happen, trials, tragedies going to happen, and you will have those days or those seasons of low productivity. Just give yourself grace. You'll also have those days where you might be battling it out with one child or maybe all your kids, and you're not taking the time to step back and really assess the situation, to calm down, to not be angry. Those days may feel like, gosh, I'm doing my kids more harm than good. Don't worry, you guys. You're not ignoring your kids. You're not sloughing them off on a school district or the government. You're dealing with them. You're having to face those conflicts, and you're teaching them resolution skills and relationship skills. You're loving your kids even in those difficult moments. Then also realize homeschooling isn't always this Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 8:30 to 3:30, sit down, happy time with mom. I don't usually spend more than 2 hours sitting down with my kids, teaching them. They've got other responsibilities on their own that they have to complete. We've got the checklist. My kids have learned to hate checklists. But interestingly enough, although my daughter announced at the end of high school that she hates checklists, she's actually using those in college. Another tip is loosen up. Discipline yourself enough that you can function when your kitchen is filthy and when your laundry is screaming to you to be handled. Sally Clarkson, you may know her. She's a homeschooling mom of 4, well known. She's got, I believe, the Wholehearted Child Ministry or Whole Heart Ministries, something like that. Anyway, she tells this story about how she's got 4 kids. She had told her kids, I think it was to put away the laundry or something, some chore that needed to be done. And she was downstairs. The kids were all upstairs. Again, they were supposed to be getting this chore done. And she heard laughing and giggling. And she felt anger well up in her. And she started marching up those stairs. And the giggling, of course, got louder and louder. And she made it to the top of the stairs, turned the corner, looked in the room, and all the kids were in this pile on the bed on top of the laundry that was supposed to be getting put away. But they were having this great tickle fight. And she knew then that she was at this fork in the road where she could either let herself stay in her anger and fuss at the kids, make them get that chore done and get it over with, or she could tell herself to relax, to enjoy that moment, let the kids have their giggle fun, and then just gently remind them later, hey guys, that was fun. Let's get the laundry back together and put away. There are some times that you have to stop, step back, and make those decisions. When my kids were young, I think one of the best decisions I ever made was to hire Rachel. She was a 12-year-old girl who came to our house every Tuesday for 3 hours, and all she did was play with the kids. The kids one was a baby, still in diapers. One could have still been in diapers, I just can't remember, or was just potty trained. And then my daughter was still quite young. That's the time in your life when there are lots of mommy demands and there's not a lot of time to yourself. And I really wanted that time to have to myself and really to spend some extended time with the Lord. Rachel came on Tuesdays, and it was not called Tuesday in our house, it was called Rachel Day because the kids loved it when she came. They were fed by the time that she got there. It wasn't anybody's nap time. And all Rachel did, remember she was 12 years old, all she did was play with the kids. They would play, she would read, they would just be silly together. And I would go and hibernate in my bedroom, and I would spend time with the Lord. When that was finished, I would just do whatever I wanted to do for me. Sometimes it was take a bath. Rachel was only allowed to interrupt me if someone was hurt, if there was a poopy diaper, because she could change pee diapers, or if there was some fight that she couldn't gently break up. That was it. Those were the rules, and it was great. And you guys, for 3 hours since she was 12, I paid her $10 for those 3 hours. And I had her come weekly, and it was great. It was really wonderful. I would suggest you do the same. Probably now you'd have to pay more like 15 or 20, I don't know. And if it's not in your budget, what you might want to do is switch out with another mom. Take her kids one day while she gets her 3 hours, or 2 or 5, whatever you like. And then another day she takes your kids, and have that be a regular time every week, because that time is sometimes very needed, especially for introverted people. I'm very introverted, and I really need my downtime. But everybody needs their downtime. You know, when you're a mother of young kids, sometimes you feel like you're wearing many different hats and performing lots of different roles, and that you're not doing any of them well. It's important for you during those times to recharge, get that soul-filling time, take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. We've all heard that. My final tip would be to find a mentor, a homeschooling veteran who has more kids than you do. Call her, email her, ask her to come over for coffee, tell her you want to cry, you want to pick her brain, you need encouragement. Let her know things ahead of time. Let her know your needs ahead of time so that she can prepare to meet them. Spending time with an encouraging friend can be a real soul-filling time. Okay guys, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.